Hi guys, and welcome to One More Page, a podcast for lovers of kids' books.
Packed full of interviews, book reviews and industry gossip, not to mention the occasional fart joke, One More Page is your fortnightly foray into the world of children's books.
Whether you're a kid, mum, dad, author, illustrator, teacher, librarian, or just one of those people who never grew up, this is the podcast for you. So, let's meet your hosts.
Hi, I'm Kate, and I love Luna Lovegood, Anne of Green Gables, and all the girls who march to the beat of their own drum.
Hi, I'm Liz, and I love exploring alleyways and attics, and I still hope ghosts and witches are real.
And I'm Nat, and people look at me funny when I dance in the supermarket, but really it's the supermarket's fault for playing such groovy tunes. And this is...
One More Page!
So we've made it to our second episode, and the response so far has been amazing. A big shout out to all our new listeners.
Woo! And don't forget all our old listeners, you know, the ones from all the way back in episode 1. Those were the days. 2 weeks ago, we were so young and innocent back then. So Liz, what do we have coming up on today's show?
So in today's episode, we meet Nikki Johnston, a talented picture book illustrator you may know from picture books like Grandma Forgets and The Fix-It Man. We'll also hear some interviews with some of our favourite book characters in Kids Capers. You'll have to keep listening to discover how we brought them to life.
But before we get to those, it's the time where we spread the bookish love with a shout out to something that caught our eye recently. Kate, what have you got for us?
This episode, I'd like to give a shout out to the Your Kids Next Read Facebook page. If you haven't found this gem already, I absolutely suggest you check it out. It's a fantastic group of people, including teachers, librarians, authors and parents with a huge love of children's books. It's a fantastic knowledge base, and it's a great opportunity to seek out book recommendations. So if you have a question like, my 7-year-old loves D-Bot Squad, what else might he like? There'll be all these people chiming in with answers for you. So it's like having a super helpful librarian available 24/7 to answer all your questions.
I'm obsessed with that page. Everybody is so active. Like literally any question you ask, you get 20 answers. They're amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
I love it too. It's great. It's really good as well if you have a very specific question, like specific age or something they've read specific books. What else would they like in that same kind of genre? Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Or one more thing that they're actually really good at as well is if you go, I have this memory of this book from when I was a kid and there was a guy that ate a watermelon and turned into a frog and then went into space, and like someone will know what you're talking about. It's amazing.
It's like the brain's trust.
So now it's time for our special guest interview where we chat with someone from the kids book industry, and today we have an illustrator on the show.
That's right. Today we're talking to Nikki Johnston. Nikki is a picture book illustrator, plus an author, speaker and teacher. She illustrates in watercolour, ink, pencil and paste, as well as using digital programs. Nikki is passionate about inspiring young children to enjoy writing and drawing and developing their own ideas.
A big One More Page welcome to Nikki!
Hi Nikki, and thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It seems like 2017 has been a very busy year for you. Did you have 3 books out over the year?
Yes, it has been a bit crazy. So I've got 3 children's books that have been launched this year. One of them was The Fix-It Man, written by Dimity Powell and illustrated by me, that came out in March. And it's a beautiful story touching on grief and hope. The text in there is just divine and such a great book to start conversations with kids around death and grief and loss and that kind of thing. Another one I had out, which was in September this year, was written by Paul Russell, and it's called Grandma Forgets. And it is about grandma forgetting and touching on dementia and Alzheimer's as well. It's a fantastic book. That's actually been going, well, they've both actually been going really well. And I literally have just received the advance copy of another book by Sarah Elliott, and it's called Where's Bear? And Where's Bear is it's a lovely book about bravery and resilience. So I'm not actually sure when that one actually is available, but I've just received the advance copy. So, so it's a bit exciting.
So I'm always absolutely in awe of people who can draw. Tell me a bit about it. Is there a trick? Is it talent? Is it practice? Or is there something I'm just doing wrong?
No, look, I think it's a combination of everything, really. I think passion comes first because you have to want to do it, and when you want to do something, you will actually do it over and over and over and over and over and over again, and that where it comes to practice comes in, skill and practicing skill, like any skill, really. The more you do it, sort of, I guess, the better you develop. I guess the difference is so for me. I've been passionate about art and drawing and painting and writing as well, right from when I was 3, like literally. So it's kind of, I don't find it boring doing things over and over or filling up a sketchbook art one after the other and having no purpose for it.
So how did you go from just somebody who was filling up a sketch pad at home to actually, illustrating children's books, writing children's books and getting them published?
Yeah, so look, I always made books, like one-off books and things like that from, quite young. In fact, when my eldest son was 1, I made a book, which was just one. Actually, I did a couple of copies and gave them to families. And then when my first book was Go Away, Mr. Worry Thoughts, which was released in 2008, so it's it's a fair while ago now, which is one that I wrote and illustrated, and that was really based on getting a resource for my son who suffered anxiety, and then predominantly became a resource for everybody else as well. So that kind of got me started through a need where there was no other books. Well, there actually was one other book, but it was about a girl, and I've got boys and I needed a book for a boy. So that's kind of where it began, but it didn't really begin there. That was kind of just where I applied it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Go Away, Mr. Worry Thoughts was one that you wrote and also illustrated. For the books that someone else has written, can you tell us a little bit about the process of working with an author? Like, do you speak with them or do you not speak with them? Does the author tell you what they want or give you illustration notes, or do you just kind of look at the text and go for it?
Yeah, it depends on the publisher. I mean, I think I do prefer working with the team because I think collaboratively you can tell the story in the best possible way, both with the text and of course, with the illustrations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what picture books are all about, isn't it? Like finding that marriage between the text and the illustrations.
Yeah, and I think, it works all different ways, and it depends really too how the publisher works and how the author works as well. The Fix It Man, which was with Dimity Powell, I'm actually working on another book with her as well, and we work very closely together and go through the whole process because it's a bit of a 2-year sort of marriage, if you like, right from the very beginning to the very end. And so, I don't want her sitting waiting for 2 years and not having a clue what it's going to look like. So, I'm quite open with all the sketches and show her work in progress photos, and as I did with Paul Russell for Grandma Forgets as well.
Yeah, so wow, 2 years is a really long time. How much of that is full on illustrating, and how much of it is kind of downtime and waiting time?
Look, it can vary for me so far with the books that I've done at the moment. It can vary anywhere from 4 months of solid illustration to sort of 9 months of solid illustration. And that comes down to when it's going to be released and what is, what's required by the, the catalogues that are being sent out and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite an ordeal. Sort of, I just get told, this is when we need the cover, this is when we need this is when we need that. So I just kind of work to those deadlines. So for instance, it's nice when I actually see the book and we launch it and it feels, it's almost been nearly a year since I'd sort of been working on it, and I've worked on, a few more in between. So it's kind of like seeing your long lost child again after a break.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess for the author, even longer.
That's exactly right. And, it's always really nice when you get it and you go, oh, good, I still really like the illustrations.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it'd be disappointing if you didn't feel that way, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So what are the stages that the illustrations go through? Like you mentioned, there's a storyboard stage. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think, look, illustrators work very differently. And what I've learned to realise over these last sort of 10 years or so is that there's no real right way. I think it's just how you work. Now, the way my brain works is I tend to do a very basic sort of storyboard as to, you know, where the text is going to go and how it's going to break up and what the turn pages are, if that hasn't already been given to me, because sometimes that can be given to you already. If it hasn't, then I work on that. And, you know, I try to do thumbnail sketches, but my thumbnail sketches end up almost being A4 size, which are quite big, which I call my first roughs. And then once the first rough concepts kind of are approved, then I go to my final roughs, and I do the final roughs at 100% size of the finished book so that I know exactly what size it's going to be. And then I work from there. I enlarge it to the final artwork. So really it's the final rough stage where everything kind of gets really decided out. By the time I'm at the painting stage, there's not a whole lot that would potentially change or hasn't already been discussed.
Yeah, so those final artworks, the ones that are painted, are they bigger than the actual book, or did you say they were okay, and then they get shrunk down?
Yes, so I produce those on larger because when they get scanned in, and they get kind of reduced. It's all to scale, of course, and then they get reduced down, and what it does, it just tightens up the illustrations just slightly and gives a little bit more sort of room to move as well. So, yeah, that's how I work. So they end up being quite large, the final illustrations, and you know, even that's quite a process because I mainly work, well, I don't mainly, but a lot of my stuff is in watercolour, ink, pencils, which is all on the large scale. So if I'm with watercolours or stretching the paper that's involved, it's quite a lengthy process.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you mentioned that the artwork gets scanned in. How does that happen? And do you do that, or do you like send it to the publisher?
Yes, yeah. So usually the publisher tells me where they want the artwork to go. So, you know, if it has to be posted, then you package up the artwork and you send it off and hope that it doesn't get lost.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. You have to have a lot of faith in your courier company, like, or or Australia Post or whoever, because
yeah, it is a bit nerve-wracking, and you kind of package it up and think, oh, there's like, you know, 9-12 months worth of work there, and I'm just sending you all off. But yeah, touch wood, I've had no problems of late. The last book I've just finished, it was in Melbourne, so I could actually drive it to the door and hand deliver it, which was fantastic because I knew then that I know exactly where it is, and then I'll go and pick it up when it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. That would definitely be my preferred option if I had the choice.
Yeah.
So when you're working on your art, do you use models or photos to work from, or does it come straight from your imagination onto the page?
No, so all in my very initial rough sketches, before I even do my first round of drafts, I tend to develop the characters, and a lot of the time I will go back to my old sketchbooks because while I take my sketchbook everywhere with me and I draw kind of everything I see, you know, I use those as references later on. Yes, I use photographs. My kids are always posing in certain positions. I also have models that I can move to get into sort of position, you know, perspective positions and things like that. So I use a whole range of stuff. So no, it doesn't just come straight from my mind onto the paper.
Yeah, right.
There's a whole lot of work that goes into it, and then, you know, then comes into composition as well.
I just find it also fascinating because, you know, like I can barely do a stick figure. So sort of hearing about how all of these things happen, I guess I kind of imagined you just sort of sitting there and dashing something off, you know.
Sometimes I do. Like, as I said, I have a sketchbook in my handbag, and it goes everywhere. It goes to cubs when my son's doing cubs. It goes to swimming lessons. It goes everywhere. And I will see things, and I'll just draw what I see. And if somebody's in a particular position, say, and I'll try and draw my character in that position, and sometimes I don't end up using them. Then sometimes I've even had, like, the main character of the next book that I've got coming out with Dimity, I actually sketched, I was at work and I was in a meeting, and it actually was sketched onto an agenda page. So it can come anywhere at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Nikki's boss is listening, she totally pays attention in all her meetings. She thinks you're very interesting and inspiring. Right. Well, we're coming to the end of the interview now, so we just have what we call the Fast Five. It's just a few questions so that people can get to know you a little bit better. So Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, what's your favourite children's book?
Oh my goodness. I just bought Anna Walker, Florette.
Yes, that is a beautiful picture book, isn't it?
Yes, I just got that the other day.
What's the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, I'm not really a strange eater. I am a very predictable eater. It's going to be really boring and say calamari.
That is, when you think about it, though, it is a little weird, isn't it? I think sometimes you've just got to eat it and not think about it.
Yes.
All right. Would you rather swim with a shark or sleep with a brown snake?
Oh, I'd sleep with a brown snake.
Oh, really? No, I'd swim with the shark.
Yeah, no, I don't like the water at all.
What's your favourite thing to do on the weekend?
Apart from trying to sleep in would be to take the kids out and draw them. It sounds really silly, but actually go out with the kids and then record it in my sketchbook.
All right, last question. Which picture book do you wish you'd written or illustrated?
Oh, my goodness. So many. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, my mind has gone to my bookcase, and my bookcase is so chaotic that I just actually couldn't. It's like deciding one book to take out in a fire.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. All right. Well, look, thanks very much for your time today. Before we go, I was just wondering if you could let us know, is there anything, this might be a bit secret, but have you got any upcoming projects that you can talk about?
I do. So there is a book coming out. I've got a few books coming out. I have another one with Dimity Powell that is coming out at the end of next year. And then there's another project, and this is with EK Books, and I've got another one coming out with them in 2019. And I have one with Scholastic that comes out next year around Father's Day. And there's another one which I think is next year, and that's another one. That one's called Searching for Seashells. That comes out, I think, early next year.
Wow, okay. So you've got a busy few years then.
Yes, I know. It's a bit crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if people want to find out a little bit more about you or get in touch or anything, where can they find you online?
I have my website, which is nikkijohnston.com.au, and also on Facebook and Instagram. I love Instagram, so I'm on Instagram all the time. Again, Nikki Johnston.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic interview, Kate. Wow, I can't believe how many books Nikki's got coming out. She's so busy. And the part where she talked about sending off her finished illustrations, that just freaked me out. I definitely want to take the hand-delivered option if I could.
Oh my gosh, that totally freaked me out too. Can you even imagine? But it was a great interview. I loved finding out more about Nikki's process. I don't know anything about art or illustration. I can barely do a stick figure, and it was really great to be able to kind of peek behind the curtain a little bit and find out more about the process.
And coming from a person that has eaten cockroaches, I find it really funny. The craziest thing she's ever eaten is calamari. And as always, One More Page has a guest interview next episode. Who will we be talking to then, Liz?
Our next episode is going to be library themed, so I'll be talking to Bethany McDonald, who works at the State Library of Victoria. She coordinates their children's programs, and there's a whole lot of exciting things going on there, so it should be very interesting.
Ooh, librarians are like my favourite peoples. Well, after the ice cream man and the person that invented Milo, then it's librarians.
Alrighty, so now it's time for What You've Reading. This week, since we're talking about illustrations, we thought we'd focus on illustrated books that we've read and loved. Nat, what have you read recently?
So I just finished The Weatherman by Donovan Bixley, published by Hachette. Donovan's from New Zealand, where all the really cool people come from, and he has illustrated this awesome wordless picture book. It's kind of in the style of a comic, with the page divided into picture panels, and it tells the story of a man who decides he wants to control the weather, and so he builds a machine to do so. Of course, with disastrous results, because it's not our place to control the weather, right?
Right.
I find wordless books really amazing because instead of reading them, you kind of just experience them. And each time you look, you see something really different. And his drawings are bright and they're bold and they're modern. And it's a book that easily stretches across all ages, languages, and cultures. And I found that I kind of read it about 4 times. It was one of those ones, because there's so many pictures per page. It's something that you can reread many times. And of course, it provides an excellent springboard to discussions about climate change and the effects that humans have on the environment.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I'd love to give that a read. I was going to say a read, but of course not a read.
Well, it is.
Look.
I mean, it is a read, right? Like I was sort of thinking the same thing. I'm like, it feels weird to say read because there's no words, but I mean, it is.
Yeah.
You read it with your eyes. unlike worded books which you don't read with your eyes.
Read it with your eyes. Read it with
Moving
your
right along,
eyes.
Liz. What have you been reading?
So I've just finished a very funny picture book called Rodney Loses It. It's by Michael Gerard Bauer and it's published by Omnibus Books at Scholastic. And it features some very animated illustrations by Chrissy Krebs, who you might know from a book called This Is a Circle. And that goes along with a very animated character, Rodney. So Rodney's a rabbit and he totally loses the plot when his pen called Penny goes missing. And he actually is in love with his pen, which you'll see in a very funny illustration. And very observant little readers will discover that Penny the pen isn't actually too far away after all. And Rodney's emotional rollercoaster ride and his overreactions might be very familiar to some readers and some parents reading it with their children.
And to some members of a certain podcast. Not me, not Nat. Nat's the very sensible one, just in case you were confused about who's who. I'm the sensible one. Kate, what have you been reading?
I've been reading Zoom, which is written and illustrated by Sian Danthes and published by Hachette Australia. It's a fun picture book about a kid who flies a rocket to outer space and explores the planets of the solar system. The thing that really makes this book stand out are the amazing illustrations. Sian has transformed each planet into an animal. Earth is a bear, Mars is a fox, and Jupiter is a whale. And I know that's a bit of a head spin, and it is actually really hard to explain how she's done it, but the effect is really magical. So I definitely recommend you go out and suss out this picture book.
Great idea. I'm so intrigued. I really want to see it now.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. Like, Earth is kind of this blue and green bear kind of curled up into a ball, and you just kind of want to give him a really big hug. So yeah, it's great.
Speaking of awesome drawings and stuff, it's competition time!
We've got a really great prize today, and this one's especially for kids, but this time you'll need to be Sydney-based. Thanks to Adam Brisson at Toon Creations, we have a cartoon drawing workshop to give away, and it's not just for one child because the winner gets to bring up to 9 friends. The workshop will be held at Toon Creations Studio in Bondi, or if you live within 20 kilometres of Sydney CBD, Adam can come to you to conduct the class.
Wow, that is fantastic. I would totally love to be on board with that. So for all those kids listening, to be in the running, you need to send us a drawing of your favourite book character. Visit the competition page on our website at www.onemorepagepodcast.com/win to find out more.
And Toon Creations, they do workshops for birthday parties, they do school visits. It's really amazing. So we're going to put all the details of Toon Creations in the show notes if you want to check them out. And this prize is worth $250, a 10-kid workshop. So it's definitely worth entering, guys. So send your pictures in. All right, adults, leave the room. You've had your time. Go on, out. Get. Kids, break out the party poppers, cartwheel down the hallway, and try not to wet yourself with excitement because it's time for
Kids Capers!
All right, so Nat, what exactly happened this week? I heard you picked up something cool at a local garage sale.
So I was digging around some old guy's secondhand clothes to see if I could find myself a top hat, and I came across a trans animator ejectifying machine, and I picked it up for only $10.
You picked up a what, Nat?
A trans animator ejectifying machine, Liz. Please pay attention.
Of course you did, Nat. And that does what exactly?
Seriously, do you guys live in a cave or what? It's a machine that turns kids into their favourite book characters. Duh. So this week, I went out and nabbed some kids off the street and threw them into the machine to see what they had to say.
Oh, Nat, you are going to get us sued.
Kids Capers!
All right, well, I can't wait to test out my new machine. So I've just grabbed a kid off the street. This is Miss Addie. Now, Addie's 9 years old and she's a big fan of Veruca Salt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. How are you today, Addie?
I'm good, thank you.
So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what you like about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and in particular, why you're such a big fan of Veruca Salt.
I like Veruca Salt because she's a very rotten, spoiled, revolting kind of character, and she's not a very generous person. She's like, I don't want you to have it, I want to have it.
And you like the baddies, do you, a little bit?
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting to listen to people that aren't exactly what you call the nicest people, like Charlie Bucket because he's more of a sweet, innocent kind of character, and Veruca's all, I want this, I want that, I must have this, I must have that.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's nice in books to escape into a personality that's not like yours. Well, I'm hoping she's not like you, right?
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right, well, that sounds great. Are you ready to go into our trans animator objectifying machine?
Yes.
I should warn you, when you come out the other end, you're not going to be a very nice girl.
Okay.
Feeling brave?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Hi, Veruca Salt. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Thanks for joining us. I just wanted to ask you a few questions. Is that okay?
Fine.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just wondering, what do you want to be when you grow up and why?
I'm going to be the president of the world and make all the rules, and I'll make Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory close down because he gave it to Charlie Bucket, and I should have been the one that gets the chocolate factory.
Whoa, okay. I can understand that would have made you a little bit angry. If you were invisible for a day, what would you do?
I would sneak into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory and take all of his golden goose and all of his little Oompa Loompas so we can never make a single bar of chocolate ever again.
Wow, okay, maybe we won't give you that special power because that sounds a little bit scary. I was just wondering, if you won $1 million, what would you do with it?
I don't need $1 million. My daddy gets me whatever I want, when I want. And if I don't get what I want, I will scream.
Okay, please don't do that because I've got headphones on and it'll probably deafen me. So thank you very much, Veruca. It was really lovely to have you on our show.
Sure.
Okay, bye then.
Bye.
All right, well, let's move on to someone a little bit nicer. Stella here is a big fan of Nanny Piggins. It's very brave of you to agree to testing my machine out for me. I hope it works okay.
Yeah, well, really, there shouldn't be anything to worry about. I mean, the people who are selling it on the garage sale must have already used it.
Yeah, right? And I mean, I'm sure they're not selling it because it's broken or because it started turning kids into animals or anything like that. I'm sure that's not what's happening.
No, of course not.
Well, you better hope not, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so Stella, do you want to tell us a little bit about why you like the Nanny Piggins books?
I really like the Nanny Piggins books because they are hilarious. When I'm reading them, every single time I've read them like multiple times, like 10 times, I'm always laughing because she does crazy, crazy things. And if she was my nanny, I think I would have the time of my life with her.
What's your favourite thing about Nanny Piggins?
She's daring and she teaches everyone not to be afraid and just do it. This is what she always says. She says, sometimes things bad happen, but most of the time things don't happen, so just do it.
Sticking with that theory, I'm going to get you to step inside the machine. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, in you go, Stella. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Nanny Piggins. How you going?
Hello, everybody.
So great for you to be here with us today. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. I'll eat my cake later.
Nanny Piggins, we've got a couple of questions for you. Is it okay if I ask you some questions?
Far away.
Where would you go on your dream holiday?
Well, I would really like to go to Russia because my brother Boris, the ballet dancing bear, was born in Russia, and I don't think I've ever been to Russia before. My brother is the best brother ever. He even went to university to get a law degree to help me when I got into legal trouble, which is quite frequently these days.
Tell me how you would spend the perfect Saturday.
Well, I have a very busy week with jumping, eating cake, going on all these crazy adventures with Samantha, Michael, and Derek, the 3 kids I look after. And so on a Saturday, I think I'd have a relaxing day, eating cake from Hans Bakery and watching The Young and Irritable, which is my favourite soap opera.
Sounds like a good Saturday plan.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want for Christmas next year and why?
Okay, that is a very, very easy question because I've had my eye on those, those smart ovens where they clean themselves because I haven't got time for housework. It saves so much time and they're ginormous, so I can cook more cakes in less time. So I would really love a ginormous smart oven because I don't believe in housework and I have to bake cake in time for 11Cs, which is the 11th meal of the day.
Perfect. All right, well, I'll send a message to Santa so he knows exactly what to bring you, okay?
You better.
No problem, anytime. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Nanny Piggins. It was really nice to meet you.
The pleasure was all mine.
All right, thanks a lot. Bye, Nanny.
Bye.
Aw, wasn't she lovely? Who's the next kid we've dragged in off the street? It's Ewan. He's a big Harry Potter fan. Hi, Ewan. Thanks for joining us here on One More Page podcast.
It's amazing to be here.
Awesome. Well, so you're pretty brave to agree to kind of test out this machine for us.
Yeah, I'm actually quite nervous.
Yeah, you should be because it might just, I don't know, blow up or self-combust but you know what? I'm sure you'll be fine. Don't be nervous, okay?
Okay.
You kind of sound nervous. That's probably my fault. Anyway, let's forget what I just said. Let's have a chat about why you like the Harry Potter books and Harry Potter in particular.
I like Harry Potter because it's just an amazing, intriguing world, and it really feels like you're actually being involved in what's happening.
And what do you like about Harry?
Well, he is quite relatable and all that, and I just really like the story behind it.
You must like him enough to be turned into him, so are you ready to get in the machine?
Yep.
All right, just step this way. Thank you, Ewan.
Okay.
Hi, Harry. How are you?
Hello, Nat. I'm feeling very wonderful today.
It's really nice to meet you. I'm actually a huge fan, so getting a chance to talk to you is really exciting. While I've got you here, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, no problem.
I was just wondering, if you were having a dinner party and you could invite any 3 guests to the party, who would you invite and why?
I would probably invite Ron, Hagrid, and Hermione, as they are my best friends.
So what would you guys have to eat? I mean, Hagrid's probably going to eat a lot of food.
Yeah, I would probably go down to Hogsmeade Village and go to the pub, and me and Hermione would be able to drink a lot of butterbeer, and Hagrid could drink whatever he wants.
Sounds great. If you were invited to a dress-up party, who would you go as and why?
I would dress up as a giant, hairy spider so I could scare Ron, because he is extremely afraid of spiders.
Oh, that sounds like the perfect Halloween costume. If you had to break out of prison, how would you do it?
I would use a charm spell on me to make me invisible, and I would just walk straight out the gates.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of easy to break out of prison when you're magic, isn't it?
It is very easy.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure you'd never do anything to get in there in the first place.
I might do something.
I knew you had a naughty streak, Harry. Thank you so much for your time, and I guess I better let you go back to the machine, otherwise I might get in trouble from your parents for not turning you back.
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Okay, thanks a lot, Harry. Bye. Yeah, I'll turn Harry back into Ewan later. But right now, we're going to meet Cassidy. Cassidy's 9 years old. How you doing, Cassidy?
I'm good.
That's good. Do you want to tell us who's your favourite book character?
Well, I really love all the girl power sort of characters, so I like Lyra Belacqua and like Katniss Everdeen and Hermione Granger and those sort of girl power characters.
Yeah, cool. And so today we're gonna turn you into Lyra from Philip Pullman's Dark Materials. Can you tell me what you like about those books?
Well, the world in them is like, it's sort of amazing how he's come up with that there's sort of different worlds but in the same sort of planet, and like some worlds have animal spirit sort of things and they're completely different but they're sort of linked to our world.
Yeah, and some might say that they're pretty big books for a 9-year-old, so pretty impressed that you got through them.
Yeah, I love reading.
Yeah, I can tell. I think you'd have to like reading if you're 9 years old and are reading Dark Materials. That's pretty impressive. Well, they're also some of my favourite books like ever, so I'm pretty excited to have a chat with you when you get out of this machine. Are you ready to go in?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Lyra. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hey, I'm really, really excited to get a chance to talk to you. You're actually, as well as being one of Cassidy's favourite book characters, you're one of mine as well.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
So I've got a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
So my first question is, if you were stuck on a deserted island and you could only have 3 things with you, what would they be and why?
Well, it ain't never going to happen, because I'm too good to get stuck on one. But if I did get stuck on a deserted island and I could only have 3 things, there would probably be the alethiometer, a lifetime supply of omelettes, and of course a boat to get away. The alethiometer is a truth teller,
So I'd ask it all sorts of questions to help me, like, how do I get off this bloody island? I need a lifetime supply of omelettes to keep me going. And the boat, of course, I would just need to row myself off.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, Lara. Our second question is, if you were to build your dream house, what would it be like?
Who needs a house when you can ride armoured bears across the snow to their kingdom and live in a gypsy boat? Not me. But I guess if I did have to have a dream house, it would definitely have a balloon launcher for Lee Scoresby, the aeronaut. It would have an ice room for Ulrich Bernardson, the armoured bear, my old friend, when he comes to stay. It would have a secret room to hide from Mrs. Coulter, my evil mother, and an omelette buffet. 'Cause I ain't gonna starve, am I?
I hear it's your birthday coming up next week. So what should I organise for your birthday?
Well, it ain't gonna be nothing boring. So if you don't mind, what about we'll hire a couple of armoured bears and we can ride them across the snow? Then we'll eat cake, of course. Chocolate, if you don't mind. And then we can drop down to the land of the dead and grab a few ghosts to stare the living daylights out of the Master of Jordan. Ooh, and if you don't mind, just to make my day, we'll go up to Mrs. Coulter's studio and burn it down.
Nice to meet you, Lyra. Bye.
Bye.
I really should make a point to turn these characters back into kids. I'll worry about it later. Next, we've got Bella, and Bella is a big fan of Dingo from Wombat Stew. Hi, Bella. Thanks for joining us today.
That's all good.
I just wanted to ask, first of all, what is it that you like so much about Wombat Stew?
I love how all of Wombat's friends are actually helping him without Dingo knowing. It's a lot of fun, and the cool thing is that Dingo is actually really a nice guy.
Really? Well, I guess we're about to find out about that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, in you go. Hi, Dingo. How are you today?
I'm lovely.
Wow, it's really really nice for you to join us. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Is that okay?
Yes, ask your questions.
Okay, maybe if you could just stand back over there a little bit, that would be great. Thanks. It just makes me a little nervous. So my first question is, if you were to organise my birthday party, what would you do?
We would be out in the bush amongst the gum trees, hunting for hundreds of wombats for a gooey, brewy, yummy, chewy wombat stew.
Ooh. How about you tell me something about you that nobody else knows?
Don't share this, but I'm actually quite lonely. Being so handsome and such a fine hunter really does make it hard to make friends. I don't know why, really. I'm very caring, and I know loads of games to play, except with those pesky wombats, because all they are good for is eating.
Our last question, if you could choose a magic power for a day, what would it be and what would you do with it?
That is a tricky one. I think, though, the most useful magic power would be for me to be able to fly. That way I could hunt up high in the sky and then swoop down to grab those pesky wombats who try to hide from me. Yes, I think that would work best. Or else maybe to be invisible. Either way, those wombats wouldn't stand a chance.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're not magic, and I'm even more glad that I'm not a wombat. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us for this interview, Dingo. I might just get you to step back into the machine, if you don't mind.
Oh!
No, Dingo, come back. No, Dingo, but Bella, Dingo, your mum's going to kill me.
Oh!
Kids Capers!
That was awesome, Nat.
Yeah, I know, right? Told you.
You did make sure you turned all those kids back afterwards, right?
Oh, I kind of, you know what? I'll be right back.
Oh, Nat. So Nat's ducked out for a minute, but Liz, it's time for a question for one of our listeners. What have we got this week?
Well, this time I've had a message from Steve in Sydney, so let's take a listen to his question.
Hi, I'm Steve. My daughter is in year 1 at school and still really enjoys picture books, but we're also looking to move on to some chapter books that I can read aloud at bedtime. She prefers something with a few pictures that she can look at while we read. What do you suggest?
Ooh, good question. I actually really think kids are spoilt for choice at the moment in this category. In my house, the Bad Guys series by Aaron Blabey is a huge favourite. It reads a lot like a graphic novel or a comic, but with only a few large frames on each page. plenty of fart jokes, plenty of bum jokes, which tend to go down well with that age group, or really any age group. So yeah, that's, I think, pretty much always a winner. Other books to consider are some of Roald Dahl's shorter works, like maybe The Twits or George's Marvellous Medicine. They've brought them out in a larger format too, which I think has coloured illustrations rather than, the traditional black and white ones. So that could be a good option for a child who likes to still look at the pictures. And another one that isn't quite a chapter book but is longer than a traditional picture book is the Ruby Red Shoes series by Kate Knapp. The books have full colour illustrations and you can read them in a single sitting. So as I say, not really a chapter book, but they're just that little bit longer than a picture book, both in terms of the number of pages and also how much text there is on each page. So they can kind of be quite a nice transition from picture books into chapter books.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, there's some really great suggestions. I think this is a really exciting age group because they're just branching out and trying to sort of read themselves, but they still kind of like illustrations as well.
Hey, okay guys, I'm back. It's all sorted now, but if you do happen to see a dingo running around, her parents are kind of looking for her. But anyway, what's coming up? Liz, what's on your radar?
Okay, so on my radar at the moment is the Children's Book Council of Australia announcing their notable books for 2018. So this is essentially their long list for who's in the running for their Book of the Year awards. This showcases some of Australia's best children's books from picture books through to YA, and they get that all-important shiny metallic sticker on their covers. The CBCA will be posting the list on their website at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 27th of February. So if you want to find out straight away who's made this list, you can check out cbca.org.au then.
Oh, guys, that's the dingo. I've got to get it back to its parents. Let's wrap this up.
What? Wrap it up? Wow. Does that mean we have 2 whole episodes now? Can you believe it?
I actually sort of can't believe it. We're usually so disorganised with everything. But soon we'll have a third.
So don't forget that next fortnight we've got our library episode where we'll be speaking to Bethany McDonald from the State Library of Victoria.
And if you've liked it so far, don't forget to go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review, and you can even leave comments like, that Nat is really good looking, or how hilarious is that Nat, or wow, that Nat is just awesome. It's best you don't write anything about the other two. All right, guys, join us next fortnight for
One More Page!
Thanks for listening to this episode of One More Page. Read the show notes and find all our episodes at www.onemorepagepodcast.com. Don't forget, you can also subscribe via the iTunes Store or your favourite podcast app.
We love to receive listener questions and hear any kids' book news or reading recommendations. Chat with us on our Facebook page or find us on Twitter and Instagram at OneMorePageAU. You can also email us at onemorepagepodcast@gmail.com.
A big thank you to Marianne Koo, who does all of our illustrations. That's it from us this time, but we hope you can join us next time for one more episode of One More Page. That's right, guys, it's blooper time. First of all, we have Liz's weekly laughter fit.
We haven't had one of Liz's breakdowns into hysterical laughter yet. I think we've
time for my fortnightly laughing attack.
Cut, laugh, 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 laugh. Cut, laugh, 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 laugh. This is Liz adding an unusual French flair to a very Australian name.
Thanks to Adam Brisson at Toon Creations, we've got a cartoon drawing workshop to give away.
Sorry, it's Brisson.
Brisson. Okay.
Brisson. Sorry.
Brisson.
Yeah, I know. It makes him sound very fancy, but it's not his name. His name is Adam Brisson. He is a croissant you can buy at the bakery. And this is Kate wrapping up just a little too quickly because she wants to go home.
Join us next fortnight for One More Page.
One more page.
One more page.
We didn't talk about what's happening next week.
Oh,
you went too early.
Oh my God.